Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this edition of SBB University, where we are talking about senior living options right here in Southwest Florida. Super excited today to bring on this dynamic panel of beautiful ladies. How are you this morning, ladies?
Good, thank you.
Good. So we're going to do some quick introductions. Oh, sorry, Martha. What'd you say?
We're glad to be here.
Oh, good. We're going to start off with some quick introductions. I'm going to start kind of organically. We're going to start with Stacy over at Preferred Care at Home. How are you this morning, Stacy?
Good morning. And I'm Stacy Adams with Preferred Care at Home. We do in-home health care here in Lee County. Help people stay in their homes a little bit longer before they transition into usually assisted living from there, unless they stay in their homes.
And you've been with Preferred Care Home, started this franchise. It's been a couple years now. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I started as an EMT paramedic in the Bay Area in San Francisco, California. Then was a 911 dispatcher for 15 years.
Wow.
Opened a restaurant for 5 years after that, and then worked as a marketing manager for the Marriott Group out in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, before deciding to open this unit 3 years ago in Fort Myers. I saw a need for it because I couldn't find help from my own family that I was happy with. So said, okay, it's time to go help the family and help others in the process.
That's great. I love doing these because I get to know a little bit about all of my valued partners. And Stacy, I definitely can see you hustling in the restaurant. You got a really good work ethic, and that's a tough business. So I applaud you for that for sure.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to bounce down to Miss Maureen Oravec, who's joining us from Cypress Cove. How are you this morning, Maureen?
I am very well, thank you, Amanda. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now you're relatively new. I guess it's probably been over a year now to Cypress Cove, maybe even more, huh?
Actually, not quite a year, just under a year.
Okay.
But the time really flies when you're having fun. And as you know, I came to Cypress Cove to help launch the new neighborhood, the Oaks,
yes,
which is very exciting to say that we're going to be starting construction in the fall on the Oaks, and we only have 2 residences left out of our 48 unit neighborhood. So we're pretty
excited. You must have done something right, huh?
Well, it's a team. Obviously, it's the team and the community, but we're very excited. Yes.
Now, you're definitely not new to the healthcare industry. You've been around doing different facets of services. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Now, is that another way to say I'm old?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. I have enjoyed working in senior living for many years. I started in the personnel business, actually managing our Girl Friday office, and was recruited by a marketing director a long time ago, and worked on the other coast and started in the CCRC industry as a retirement counselor. Since then, when I moved to this coast, I did open several communities for companies and worked in the home care business for 7 years as a territory manager and helped start a not-for-profit for seniors. So I've taken a couple of detours, but I've always had my eye on Cypress Cove, and I felt that it was the best community. And so I'm really proud and happy to be affiliated. So I came here in November of 2020, and we launched our Oaks community again following the COVID halt. And now I am working on both neighborhoods. We are all one, of course. So I work for the Harbor Independent Living and the Oaks, our new neighborhood that's coming.
Yes, and congratulations on your new promotion. We are so excited to have you in that role, and thank you for your partnership with Seniors Blue Book for sure.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the docket, we have Miss Martha Davila. How are you this morning, Martha?
Hi, everyone. I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Now, you have a great history as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing over there at Amavida Living.
I will. So my name is Martha Davila. I am the Director of Business Development here at Amavida. It is a beautiful, newly constructed resort retirement community. Now, here at our community, we offer independent living, assisted living, and memory care. Mm-hmm. And it's just a beautiful community, and I'm so happy to be here. I've been in the senior living industry for about a little more than 10 years. I did start out at a rental CCRC community, which I loved. And I learned so much from that community and I grew so much. That's where I received most of my knowledge from. And from there, I went to a sister community, a standalone assisted living. And I just fell in love with it. You know, it was a smaller community and just the friendliness and the warmth that you receive from a standalone, just assisted living, it just made me feel so lucky to be there. But I did miss the larger communities that have different neighborhoods. So I'm here now with the Amavida team and I could not be happier. It's a beautiful community and we just offer so much. And we definitely have everything that I've always wanted in a community. Not only is the team wonderful, but just the services and amenities that we offer, you know, and it's just, and like I said, it's a new community and I've never had that before. So I feel so lucky to come here to work every day, walk around and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually work here.
Hypothetically, you're all kind of new because Maureen's neighborhood's new, Beth's building's new, Rachel's building's new. So this is just shows you the trend in senior living.
Yeah, you're right. And they're all beautiful communities. I mean, our residents, all of our residents, they're just lucky to be able to live in communities like ours.
And have these choices for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to bounce back up to Beth. Miss Beth Sanger is joining us from the waters right here in Cape Coral, Florida. How are you this morning, Beth?
I'm good, Amanda. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Beth Sanger, the Community Relations Director for the Waters of Cape Coral. And ironically, today is our 1-year anniversary of when our first set of residents got to move in. So pretty excited. Can't believe it's been a year. It's been great. I'm proud to say that the leadership team is still here. That was here before we even opened. And it's been a rush being part of a startup. This is my first startup. And it's just been a lot of fun and a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And we've just built an amazing team here at the Waters. We've got a great vibe going on. Our residents are great. They're a very social group. They love to be together. So we have a great time here at the Waters.
Perfect. Sure. And you've been in the industry a while as well, so none of us are real newbies to this.
Yeah, I've been in senior living for 5 years. Before that, I was the CEO of a small nonprofit community foundation in the area, and I did that for 10 years. So supported a lot of nonprofits that were geared towards seniors in need. So it's rewarding to be on both sides. Right now, this has been great, and big changes coming for our area for sure.
Yes, and we're so happy to have you as a new community out there. All right, next, and certainly next, but certainly not least, last, but certainly not least, if I can get my wording right. Rachel Hafer with the Preserve, which is also a beautiful new community right here in the Fort Myers area. Rachel, tell us a little bit about your background. It is amazing to hear your story and where you came from and where you are today with the Volunteers of America family. So tell us about the Preserve and about you.
Yeah, so the Preserve, we are located in Fort Myers. We have 38 assisted living and assisted living memory support apartments, and then we have 75 skilled nursing beds. So we have short-term rehab and long-term care with memory support options as well. And then a little bit about me. I've been working in senior living for about 8 years now. I started in the dining room, went to college, was an activities assistant, and then the activity life enrichment and memory support director at the Preserve when we first opened for about 1.5 years. And then the opportunity for the marketing position opened up, and here I am. So I've been with the Preserve for almost, 2.5 years now, when we were just a cement building. So this is my first position in marketing, but certainly been involved in senior living for roughly 8 years now.
Yes, and we have a big history with your grandfather being the first executive director over at Gulf Coast Village and your father, the pastor. So a lot of family history with the organization that you're with, and you can continue that tradition. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank
All
you.
right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started with some questions for you viewers out there that have any additional questions. Please put them in the chat and our team will get answers for you. So kind of chronologically, we're going to start with Stacy. As when you're first starting to need care and you're looking into how, home care options, what is the difference between what you do as a private duty agency versus a Medicare certified company? Talk to us about the process on how to get enrolled and started.
So we go out, we do an assessment. Most folks who we come across first are just getting their feet wet. They're still not fully ready to make the leap into a full assisted living. They want to stay at home as long as possible. And they're really protectful of their pride. So we'll go out, see what their needs are. We usually start small and build up from there, so that we can protect their dignity and pride and allow them to stay in the home as long as possible. And as things change, then we will refer out from there, or we'll bring home partners in that may do some skilled care with us.
Yeah, and I know you also do like live-in services, and the difference really between a Medicare certified agency and yours is you don't need that doctor's note. And Medicare certified companies are not going to do that live-in. You just gave me a great example on how one of your staff members is actually filling in to do that live-in service. So it's clear that you go above and beyond, but talk to me about some of the ways that you pay for your care.
So options to pay for care, either long-term care, private pay. We do work with the Veterans Benefits Associations for the aid and attendance through the Caring Institute. We can help people file for that. Some insurance policies will have clauses on it, and sometimes we'll help facilitate getting family members together to chip in to cover care if their loved one's a little bit short to make it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Stacy. Now, Maureen, we're going to bounce over to you. When you're looking into a service like yours, continuing care retirement community, it's better to be, early than late. It's better to be five years too early than 5 minutes too late, quite frankly, because of the limitations. So talk to me about what is the acronym CCRC? And I know they're calling it like aging life care communities now. Talk to us about exactly what is it that you provide to the community.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. So yes, the CCRC acronym stands for Continuing Care Retirement Community. The new term that means the same thing is Life Plan Community. So they are one and the same, and they mean simply a spectrum of services or care that are available all on one campus or under one roof. For instance, Cypress Cove on our campus, we have a 48-acre campus. We have on our campus, the Harbor, which is our independent living area, and the Oaks will be independent living. So there's 377 Harbor residences, and there'll be 48 Oaks residences. But also on the same campus, Amanda, we have assisted living. We have our Inn, which is 44 one bedrooms of assisted living. We have then our memory care, which is called the Cottage, which is quite state of the art and beautiful. And you're smiling. It's really one national accreditation. It's an awesome development for memory care, well staffed and specific to the needs of someone that has dementia or Alzheimer's. And then we have the Lodge, which is our skilled nursing and the Mead Therapy Center. So the idea of having this spectrum of care on one campus where a resident might change in levels of functionality, but will never have to change their address. So the concept of a CCRC or life plan community means that you have all that available to you, in one place, and many times, depending on the community, would be at the same cost at different levels of living. But certainly, who's providing the care. You're guaranteed a place at those other levels should your needs change. For me personally, I had my mom, when she needed skilled nursing, we could not get her into the best facility in the area because it's very difficult. We're in a continuing care, that you have that place to go to should you need it, if those life changes do occur.
Yes. And it's very interesting to compare a community that has the levels versus, a rental versus we're not going to call it a buy-in, but an entry fee community. So Martha, yeah, Martha, I'm going to roll that one over to you. Talk to me about the differences between a traditional independent living community such as Amavida and a continuing care retirement community, because they're alike, but they're very, very different. So talk to us about
That's correct. Yes, so we are an independent living community. What that means, and the biggest difference between a CCRC and an independent living community is that you do have to buy into a CCRC community where we are a rental community. So for some residents that aren't financially able to buy into a CCRC, that's where we come in. We will definitely be able to provide a lot of the services that they offer at CCRC communities. The biggest difference is that we don't offer the skilled nursing here on campus. We do offer the services and amenities, and of course we have the maintenance, the housekeeping, the laundry services, an array of activities, concierge services, and the list goes on and on. However, in an independent living community, we're a rental property, so one would just pay his or her rent each month and just continue to live here. But of course, take advantage of the services and amenities that we offer.
Sure. We'll roll into that a little deeper, but first I'm going to pop up to Beth. Beth, you're here representing the assisted living memory care sector of the panel today. Here we are with another acronym. In our industry, we call what you need an assisted living for is help with your ADL. So talk to me about what an ADL is, what it means, and how it kind of affects your pricing when you're looking at assisted living and memory care.
Right. So that's really kind of the difference when people are trying to understand what's the difference between an independent living and going right to an assisted living community. What is that difference? And really it's about staffing. It's about having nursing on staff 24 hours a day, such as that we have. And it is providing levels of care for the ADLs, which is activities of daily living. So a lot of folks are fairly independent, but there might be a few things they need help with. The number one reason why most people start and move into assisted living is they need help managing their medications and showering. Those are usually the two first things you see of ADLs that they need assistance with. And then of course the memory care, it's pretty much usually expected that with dementia, you're not going to be able to take care of yourself with a lot of the ADLs. So that's an inclusive pricing in most memory cares that you'll see, that it's expected that we're going to provide those services on a daily basis.
Right. And when you're talking the terminology ADL, you're talking about assistance with grooming, bathing. These are just activities that you really don't have to think about. When you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, that's what you need to do. Or for most of us, that's what we know.
Yeah. It's just realizing that, as people age, sometimes as simple as putting on a shirt can be impossible. They might have that frozen shoulder that they just cannot get themselves dressed anymore, or they need to have help with their shoes and socks. They can't bend over it. It can be very frustrating for seniors that just the stuff we take for granted every day when we get up, that all of a sudden it's very difficult.
Yeah, and there's so many different types of licenses that, you have your standard, your ECC or LNS, and then Rachel's going to talk to us about the skilled nursing license. Actually, Rachel, let's bounce right over to you. Why don't you talk to us about, you're representing not only the skilled nursing part of things, but also the short-term rehabilitation. And this where you kind of get into like Medicare, Medicaid, questions like that. So talk to me about the process of just like with Stacy, we talked about like you don't need a doctor's order to go into or get services from in-home care. What's the process to get started with a short-term rehabilitation stay, and how does somebody qualify for that Medicare stay?
Right. So typically the Medicare guidelines require a 3-night inpatient stay at the hospital. However, with COVID, there's been a Medicare waiver where they are waiving those 3 days. And we're able to bring in residents, who haven't stayed at the hospital that long. So typically Medicare will cover the first 20 days at 100%. and Medicare will cover up to 100 days. So from day 21 to 100, usually the supplemental insurance will kick in. But fortunately, we do have our entire second floor is all private rooms for rehab. And so after rehab, we do have the services of staying in long-term care on our third floor, or even bouncing downstairs to assisted living or memory support.
Yeah, so somebody comes in for that short-term rehabilitation stay and then they need long-term. What are because obviously it's very expensive in long-term care. What are some of the pay options available down there?
So either private pay, or we do actually have 25 Medicaid beds. So we're still so brand new. We're in the process of getting certain contracts, but we do have some contracts to be able to bill certain Medicaid services. So maybe Sunshine or Humana, but certain other contracts we're in the process of obtaining. But typically it's either private pay or Medicaid. And as far as applying for Medicaid, we utilize a lot of our community resources like, elder care attorneys, or Christine Eisenhower has been a great one to help our families in through the Medicaid process, because it is pretty lengthy. So we as a facility do not help the families as far as the Medicaid process, but our community partners are great with that. And then we're able to service once we can utilize their Medicaid.
Perfect. And there's really a big misconception on the differences between Medicaid when it comes to long-term care versus the diversion program with assisted living. So I think it's important to really point out the differences there. And that's a whole nother ball of wax and a totally different panel discussion. But if you are interested in learning more about that, please check out our Medicare Medicaid panel on YouTube. All right, we're going to bounce up to you, Stacy. Stacy, as far as in-home care to get started, you do what's called a care plan. What is a care plan, and really what's the reason for a care plan?
We come in to find out what needs the client has, what the expectations are, where they may have limitations, and make sure that we follow those as we go through. Often we find people may not be getting the best nourishment. They're going and getting the box from the freezer, but they want food cooked like they used to be able to cook it. So we may cook it, or sometimes they'll say, we want it prepped. Well, we want to cook it on our own. So it gives us a real clear pathway as to what their expectations are, what their needs are. If they want us driving their car for appointments or doctor's appointments or errands, or if they need an aide to drive them in the aide's car, it just gives us a clear path so that our way everybody's on the same page and we can know what the client's limitations are and what their expectations are. A lot of clients want to remain as independent as possible, so they only want us to do a portion of something, be it change the bed linens each week, but they may want to fold some of the wash. They just can't do the larger things such as sheets. So it makes that very clear and sets guidelines for us so that we can make them more comfortable in their own home.
Stacy, I'd like for them to come over and fold all of my fitted sheets, please. No, it's really good because it not only sets the expectations for them, but also for you. So you know what they're expecting, and they know what your expectations are as well. So it just makes it a lot better in the long run that everybody's on the same page. So it's really important to have that care plan nailed down. I think that it's a fantastic opportunity for people to really realize that you shouldn't wait to talk to someone like Stacy when you need the services. You really need to talk to her ahead of time. So you have those clear expectations and you're not operating in crisis mode. All right, Maureen, we're going to bounce back down to you. Now, there are several communities in the area that do what Cypress Cove does, and we all have different contracts, and it can be very confusing, almost like Medicare. There's the A, B, and C's of CCRCs. Look at all those acronyms, people. What are the differences between these different types of contracts, and what does it mean for me when I'm looking to leave a certain amount of money of my estate? Which program should I be looking at?
Okay, great questions, Amanda. So yes, I mean, the continuing care retirement community has been around for about 100 years, started with the Quakers back in Pennsylvania, and it started out, give us all your money, we'll take care of you for life. Absolutely has changed and progressed through the years. Most continuing care retirement communities like Cypress Cove offers Number one, a traditional life care plan. The traditional life care plan where your entrance fee is based on the size of your residence, which could be a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom villa. And the amount that you pay can be either refundable or non-refundable, depending on what you choose. Under the life care contract, if you choose either one, as long as you're under the life care contract, that's the one that locks in your monthly fee and follows you. That monthly fee will follow you from one level of living to another, should you ever need to make that transition. The second contract, that's called an A, the life care contract, can be refundable or non-refundable. The second contract, which is the modified, means that your monthly fee may not follow you through every level of living. You may pay a little more, and this is a general statement. Here at Cypress Cove, it just means it doesn't cover the skilled nursing portion. It still covers assisted and memory. But modified means that you're guaranteed still a spot in those levels of living, but you have some type of financial benefit as well that will apply should you go to another level, but it may not stay exactly the same as when you're in independent living. So the modified contract also could be refundable or non-refundable. So the refundability can be an A contract, a B contract, or even a C. The C is the fee for service. And again, that has more to do with your monthly expense. On the fee for service plan, you would pay a different rate as a resident would move as needed through those different levels of living. And that can too be refundable or non-refundable. So depending on what your wishes are, if you are wanting to leave a legacy to your family, you can choose the refundable option at any of the 3 levels. And you do pay more for the refundable, and our refundability factor is 75%, but it can be anywhere from, I've seen it, 70, 80, 90, it just depends on which community. And then you have the non-refundable, which is not non-refundable immediately, but you pay less when you put your entrance fee down, and it kind of amortizes down over the years that you live there until it gets to 0. But what it has done for you, again, is either locked in that monthly fee for life or giving you that healthcare benefit under a modified contract.
Yeah, and I always say that my dogs are not going to take care of me when I get older, so I need to be looking at a continuing care retirement community.
Yes.
Probably
It's
the type A.
Peace of mind for residents and family members as well. Of course, as adult children, we can relate to that. Yes.
Perfect. All right, we're going to bounce back down to Martha. Martha is representing the rental independent living community option here on the panel today. Now, when you're moving into independent living, obviously you're independent. So when would someone no longer be eligible for living at Amavida in the independent living section? And what are the steps that you guys as a community or a traditional independent living community would do to help people move to that next phase?
Usually what happens is a resident usually talks to us when they start noticing, that they're starting to need a little more assistance. They're not able to manage the apartment or function independently anymore. They're starting to need assistance, either toileting or bathing, or maybe they had a recent fall and it just scared them. So they're not really ready to move into our assisted living. So we do discuss different options if they are not ready, and we are perfectly open to someone bringing in private duty, to help them. Maybe it's just a little something they need. Maybe they just need assistance with folding their fitted sheets or something.
That's right. Stacy for the win.
That's right. Or maybe it's just having a companion or somebody there, just somebody to give them that extra peace of mind while they're still in their apartment. They still love it. They're not ready to go to assisted living, but they just want to extend their time in independent living. So we're more than open for them to bring someone in.
Perfect. And then when the time comes to transition to assisted living, obviously your team is there to help with that transition as well.
That's right. And we also have beautiful apartments in our assisted living. And of course, we're more than happy to just keep them under one roof and keep them as our residents, of course.
Yes, yes. As far as your assisted living though, it is a separate entity. So if they're in their apartment, they're not, if they're in their independent living apartment, they're not able to receive your assisted living services in there. That's when you would bring Stacy in. But when they're ready to make that transition, you're there for them.
That's correct.
All right, Beth, we're gonna bounce back up to you. There are a lot of things that people have said about memory care communities. Talk to me about the link between the type of activities that you would experience in assisted living versus memory care, and maybe that link to music and memory.
Yeah, so, we definitely, you'll see that people with some levels of dementia can function fine in assisted living. When we really talk about the need to be in memory care and the programming, it's because they do have the levels of dementia that do require that special programming, which is short-term, shorter programs throughout the day, a little bit more one-on-one attention than they would receive in assisted living. And also the need for a wander risk elopement. They need to be in a secured memory care. And then what's provided over there are, and this is standard with most memory care programs, is that it is patient focused, and you really do get to know each individual resident, what they did in their past, and the music that they love. And it is amazing. I get goosebumps every time. When you put music on in memory care, it just affects everyone in an amazing, positive way. Someone who doesn't talk is all of a sudden singing the words to the song. It's magic. To me, it's just a magical thing that music actually reaches that part of the brain with people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's a common ground for everybody, staff and the residents.
Yeah,
Music
I would
therapy.
say it's almost for even for people like you and I. We might not remember what we ate for breakfast, but
Yeah.
boy, we can sing our heart out in the car and in the shower.
And it really does help calm residents down. If someone is having a stressful moment, we know if we put Frank Sinatra on, they're going to chill out and relax. So, and a lot of times it puts the smile on their face. So name that tune and it works.
I love it. I love it. And for you as a counselor, when people are coming in and they're trying to make a decision, should I go, with assisted living for my loved one, or do they need memory care? What are some of the key factors you're looking for that help you steer them in the right direction?
Well, obviously the art of listening is critical in all of the roles that we all play, you guys. You have to really listen for those red flags when they are sharing things about their loved one. We found out mom stepped out of the house last night and was lost and confused for a few hours. That's a red flag that probably not assisted living would be a good idea. And just looking for the behaviors, definitely behaviors that they might not appropriately function in assisted living environment, and they do need that special programming in the memory care setting. And it is, when you call it counseling, that is exactly what we have to do. We are just spending time listening to the families. They can't share enough details about their loved one in order for us to make the best choice that we possibly can for them. Sometimes you do get it wrong. You think they could thrive in assisted living, and then they come and the illness can deteriorate quite quickly.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of having an AL and memory care, all under one roof, that we can transition that loved one without too much disturbance of a lot of change.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right, Rachel. So we're talking about when you're no longer going to be able to stay in assisted living. Talk to me about when someone would no longer be eligible for memory care and that transition into the long-term care. What does that look like? And then we're also going to touch on some of the questions on rehabilitation.
Yeah, and so like Beth was saying, there's certain things that you look for, and every assisted living has they may have different licensures, so depending on the community they're at and what they're able to accommodate, but certain things like non-weight bearing on the residents' feet, they may need a Hoyer lift, they may need further clinical care than the assisted living can provide. Those would be certain things that you would look for, and clinical staff in assisted livings would be able to look for and determine that maybe long-term care is a better fit for them. And then that would be when they could transfer to us at the preserve.
Yeah, and there's a number of different licenses. We've got the standard ECC, LNS, and then really I would say the big differences are the things that you just said. When you get to a point where you're no longer weight bearing, you need that Hoyer lift. That's when you're looking for long-term care. I would say a number of the people that you see are really for that short-term rehabilitation, and I think the statistics are that, you know, pretty much everybody over the age of 65 is going to need some type of long-term care, whether we like it or not. So
Yeah.
again, knowledge is power. It's better to educate yourself today for the resources that your loved ones may need tomorrow. So you deal a lot with the Medicare side of things. When does the clock start over? How does that work?
Yeah, so Medicare will give you up to 100 days, and that can start over after 60 days of wellness. So Medicare will cover 100 days as long as the patient or the resident is making progress. So that's if they're getting physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and they're making continuous gains towards their goals. Medicare will cover up to those 100 days. After day 20 is when the whatever their supplemental insurance would be would kick in. And then the clock restarts after 60 days of wellness. So that's being discharged home and then not going to a hospital type setting for 60 days.
Yeah, and we're talking about this now. We keep mentioning like during COVID, the 3-day thing has been waived, but I do think that this is obviously an organic panel that's going to be shared over and over again. It's really important to classify the difference between being actually admitted and staying in the hospital for 3 days. So what is, when somebody goes to the hospital and they, you know, they're being seen, what really is that? You have to actually say, like, am I admitted to make sure that you qualify on normal terms, right?
A 3-night inpatient stay. So to be admitted to the hospital for 3 nights. Yes.
Yes, very important to know the difference between that, because there's a lot of people that have gotten out and said, oh, am I going to rehab now? No, you don't qualify for it. So that's definitely important to classify. And then we talked about the services as far as what you need to get started with. You need your doctor's order, obviously, to come in and get qualified through Medicare in that 3-night stay. Any other closing remarks that we have? I think we should be in good shape to wrap up for today. Stacy, did you have anything to add?
Nope. The only thing that I'd like to say is a lot of times we see people with long-term care that don't address it and they wait to use it and then they end up getting hurt. And that's the biggest fear we see with a lot of people.
Yeah.
For all of us, if they have it, they should look into it if they feel they're having some limitations, so that they can utilize it like they plan to.
Yeah, definitely. I would say don't wait until you need it either, right, Stacy? You need to look at your policy today to find out what it actually covers, because 90% of people think that their policy doesn't cover in-home care. I think that's why you're bringing it up, and it does. So you need to definitely look at your policy for sure.
The idea is to keep you out of the hospital and not allow things to happen before, so you can age gracefully.
Perfect. Maureen, any last minute words for you, my dear?
The only thing I would say with long-term care insurance, it can be utilized even at a life plan community like Cypress Cove. It's important to know, and you know, we're all trying to provide that continuum of care and the best quality, and you know, keep people enjoying the retirement that they dreamed of and out of healthcare, and for the most part, unless we're in healthcare, of course, but we want to keep them, you know, well and independent, and looking ahead to the future is what it is all about. So
agreed. Martha, any last minute words?
Yes, I just wanted to remind anyone who's watching that it is really important just to do your homework. Go out and visit these communities. They're not what they used to be. They're not for old people. We all have very active communities with so much going on. We have lots of activities, events, tennis courts, pickleball courts, just so much to offer that.
Like living on vacation.
Yeah, it's like you're on vacation, and that's what we want. We want to be responsible for your maintenance and housekeeping, all that ugly stuff. Maintenance and upkeep, of course, that can be very costly. But honestly, I just want to say that we are here for you, and we just want to provide everything we can so that you can just enjoy the rest of your life. And the sooner you get in, you'll be able to enjoy it sooner rather than later. I see it a lot where a lot of residents just wait and wait and wait. Then they come in and they don't enjoy it as long. So don't be afraid of these communities. They're just beautiful. Every single one of these communities, we have so much to offer you. So
Perfect.
come on, call any one of us and we'll be more than happy to give you a
All
tour.
right. Thank you, Martha. Beth, any last minute comments?
Yeah, absolutely. To add to that, what I would offer is just to tell these families to do your homework, but ahead of time. Don't wait till your parents are in crisis mode. We see that so often, and honestly, there's so much to enjoy and get out of, and it's independent living, assisted living communities, while you're still very healthy and able. But if you wait, you're in crisis mode, and you are in a skilled nurse setting, getting rehab, and you're on borderline if you're clinically appropriate to then go to the other type of communities. So, we just stress that give it some soul searching and long thought, that, don't wait till you're in crisis mode. That is not the ideal time to make the decision to
Yeah.
move into a community.
When you're in crisis mode, you make crisis decisions. So great advice, Beth. All right, Rachel, any last minute comments from you, my dear?
Yes. I love hearing about everybody's communities. It does, there's a lot of great options in Southwest Florida. And I was kind of going to say what everybody said, do your homework and look at the other communities. And one of my favorite things is to tour families around long-term care, which essentially what people would call a nursing home, or used to call it that. So people are often frightened of that setting. But it is a big, beautiful building. We have a lot of great services, and you walk into any of our communities and it's not what it used to be, like you said.
The word nursing home is no longer valid.
No, no.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you check out the newest edition of Seniors Blue Book for all of the beautiful communities that you see here today. And let us know if you have any questions by putting them in the chat. And we thank you so much for taking the time this morning to watch this episode of SBB University.